Hello, I'm Raisa Alicea. I am the attorney at LUCHA, that's Latin United Community Housing Association, and I wanted to talk to you today about the Fair Housing Act and give you some general information about what it covers, what is prohibited under the Act, some of the protections that the Act provides, and what you can do if you feel like your rights were violated. Now, I am an attorney, but it's important to know that this is not legal advice. If you feel like your rights were violated, if there's something that you want to discuss about fair housing, I would recommend that you talk one-on-one with an attorney. You're more than welcome to reach out to us here at LUCHA, and we can give you assistance and give you proper referral to somebody who can give you a one-on-one consultation about the specifics of your case. But we do want to give you some orientation and some information about fair housing. Now, some general information. The Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing because of several protected categories. Now, these are race or color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. Now, I have some people ask what this familial status means. That's, for example, if you're a pregnant woman and you want to rent, or you are renting, or you want to buy a home, and you feel like you're being discriminated because you're pregnant. Or if you have children, right? If you're renting or buying and you have children under the age of 18. Those all count as examples of familial status. Now, what are some of the prohibited acts under the Fair Housing Act? For example, if somebody refuses to sell or rent to you, if somebody refuses to negotiate for housing, right? There's a listing, you go in to try to see the property, negotiate a rental price or a purchase price, and there's just an outright refusal to negotiate with you. If somebody makes the housing unavailable, so there's a listing out there and you inquire about it, and then now suddenly it's gone or it's unavailable to you. If somebody is willing to rent to you or willing to sell to you, but under different terms that would be normal to anybody else. If they offer to you different housing services or different access to facilities. So for example, if you're renting and there is a common area in the building, but you don't have access to that. Other people may have access to it, but you don't, or there's limited access to those facilities. If somebody falsely denies to you that the housing, whether it's selling or renting, is unavailable to you. So it is available, but they tell you when it's up falsely, oh, it's off the market, or oh, we're not renting it anymore. And the other one would be blockbusting. And that means when somebody's persuading or tries to persuade you or somebody else to sell or to rent a property by suggesting that people of a particular color, race, national origin, sex, these categories that we discuss, are moving or have moved into the neighborhood. That's an example of blockbusting. Now, this isn't a fully comprehensive list, but it is an example of some of the acts that are prohibited under the fair housing laws. Now, it's important to note that there has to be a connection between the protected categories and the prohibited act. And what that means is you're going to have to show that that prohibited act, that refusal to rent to you, that refusal to sell your property is because of one of the protected categories. It's because of your race. It's because of your national origin. It's because of your familial status, right? There has to be that connection. Those two acts have to occur for this to be a violation under the Fair Housing Act. Now, so what happens if you think that your rights have been violated? What happens if you think that there's been a fair housing violation done to you or to somebody you know? There's a couple of legal options. First, I think the most important thing is you should consult with somebody. Consult with an attorney, right? Reach out. A lot of places offer free legal consultations where you can talk to somebody one-on-one and they can give you a better sense to see if your case is something that fits the profile of a fair housing violation. You can also file a complaint, and there's federal agencies or local agencies that investigate and adjudicate fair housing complaints. One at the federal level is, of course, HUD. You can file a complaint with them. You can do that over the phone if you call your local HUD office, and of course there's one here in Chicago. You can do it online. You can do it over the mail, right? You can fill it out and mail a complaint to them. Now, some of the important things that you're going to have to know in order to properly file the complaint and make sure they have all of the necessary information is you have to give them your personal information. So you have to give them your name, your address, phone number, ways so they can reach out to you. Then you also have to know who you're filing the complaint against. So is it an individual person, a mortgage company? Is it a property management company? So who is it specifically that this complaint will go against, and what is the address, right, that you are seeking to purchase or you are seeking to rent, that sort of the violation is centered around. And you also want to know the date that it occurred. When did this violation happen, right? And that's important not only for the agency or the attorney you're talking to be able to have a proper knowledge of all the facts, but it also is important for purposes of statute of limitations, which we'll discuss in a minute. The other important factor is you want to be able to provide a clear, succinct description of the events, okay? At this point, I don't think there's an expectation that you'll provide all of the evidence and essentially a case that is ready for adjudication. You're doing an initial complaint, but that person that's going to look at your complaint or take down your information, or that attorney that you're talking to, needs to get a good sense from you, a clear understanding of what happened and when did it happen and who did it to you, and who was it against, so they can properly sort of give you feedback, give you information about whether you have a viable claim and what steps are go next in your process of filing a complaint. And I mentioned the statute of limitations. That's a legal term that means the time that you have to file a complaint, okay? So if you're filing a complaint with a government agency, with HUD, for example, you have 1 year from the date that the events occurred to file your complaint. That's why it's important to know the date, because once the event happens, the clock is essentially running. And the statute of limitations is very important because you could have a great case, a strong case, a viable case, but if you waited 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years to reach out to HUD, they may not be able to do anything with your case because of this technical statute of limitations. Too much time has passed for them to be able to take on your case. Now, if you decide to file a federal lawsuit, you have 2 years. So you can talk to an attorney and go directly the route through the court. You'll have a little bit more time, but it is 2 years for you to file your complaint. And the same standard applies. If you have a great case, but you wait too long, the judge will very likely have no choice but to throw out your case on the technicality of the statute of limitations. So again, it's important for you to know you have to move quickly within a certain period of time to be able to protect your rights under the law. And lastly, I'll just emphasize again that if you suspect that you've been discriminated against, just consult with an attorney, file a complaint with a government agency. They'll be able to investigate the facts, give you more information, and at that point you can make a determination, or they can help you make a determination if you have a strong case worth pursuing. But I do think it is important that you explore and not just automatically assume that you can move on and nothing's going to happen. You can exercise your rights by consulting with an attorney or with HUD or any other government agency. Thank you very much.